and the reasons that Congress has two houses, right? Okay, so we mentioned that Congress is bicameral, all right, but we didn't get into the qualifications for each one. And remember, the House and the Senate are radically different, and they were meant to be different on purpose. Okay, they designed them to be of different character, and as such, they put different qualifications for each one. All right, here's the qualifications to be in the House and the Senate, and they're relatively simple. You got an age requirement, you have a citizenship requirement, and in both of them, you have to be a resident in the state that you're representing. But you can see in the House, 25, U.S. citizen for 7 years, and a resident in the state you represent. And the Senate, it's a little more stringent. 30 years old, citizen for 9 years, and a resident in the state that you represent. And those are still relatively young. And a lot of people are like, 5 years, that's not a lot of difference. But there's a huge difference between you now and 5 years from now. What's happened in somebody's life from the age of 25 to 30? Probably married and have kids. What about their work life? Moved up a little bit, settled into a career, might be in a position where they can actually do something. All right? Think about you now at age 17, 18, and where will you be in 5 years? Some of you will be finishing college, some of you going to grad school, some of you going to the workforce, military, some of you will be married, some of you might have been married and divorced. Statistically, one of y'all's having a kid. You're like, not me. All right, nose goes. All right, so look, a lot changes for you, and now in 5 years from now, think about yourself now and 5 years ago. You're like, God, I don't even want to think about it. And I promise you, even as an adult, 5 years, there's going to be a huge change in your life. You look the same, and then you start getting wrinkles. I had not used to have this forehead wrinkle, and then I started teaching. I don't know. Coincidence? I don't believe in that anymore. Right? House and the Senate, different age requirements, different citizenship requirements. Based on that, which one's supposed to be the most, or which one would be the more important one? The Senate. All right, you got to be older, a citizen longer. It is supposed to be the more prestigious of the two groups. Now remember, how long is a Senate term? 6 years. How long is a House term? 2. Okay? The House and the Senate, remember, they represent different things. Okay? And let's talk about that. Some major differences between the House and the Senate. Okay? One of the major differences is they're designed for a different purpose. Remember, the House is supposed to represent what? The people, the will of the people. Okay? Remember, they've got a 2-year term, so if you don't like what they're doing, you can get rid of them pretty fast. A 2-year term is nothing. However, remember also, too, how do we choose House members? It's not a trick question. What is it? You vote on them. You directly elect them. All right? The Senate, on the other hand, they didn't want them to be responsive to the will of the people. They wanted them to look out for the interest of their state as a whole and to make good, wise decisions for a larger group. Remember, they have a 6-year term, which is longer, and according to the original Constitution, how were they chosen? Close. State legislatures. Their state legislatures picked out who their senators would be. All right, now we've changed that, thanks 17th Amendment. All right, and we directly elect the Senate too, but they were originally chosen by state legislatures. They're supposed to be different, okay? They're supposed to be different on purpose. Everything, remember, there's nothing arbitrary that was written into the Constitution. Everything had a reason behind it, okay? They just didn't have time to write down all the reasons. Now, also, other than having different intended purposes, the structure of debating bills is different in each house. Okay? The House of Representatives. Debate in the House is extremely limited. There are tight time limits on debate in the House. Why do you think the House, and they didn't put that in the Constitution, the House made their own rules on that. Why is debate in the House extremely limited? Because it's what? There's a lot more people in it. And what's that mean? What would happen if we gave all 435 House members 1 minute to talk about a bill? That's a long time. That's 435 minutes. You're looking at like 8 hours there. You're like, we can't deal with that. Okay? Look, in the House of Representatives, most bills get 15 to 20 minutes of debate, and that's it. It's sharply limited because we don't have time for that. All right? We got to do the business of the people. All right? To give you an idea, when they had impeachment votes, like both the times Trump got impeached, they set aside like an hour for debate. And that was a lot. Like, you don't get that much time. Usually on a bill, 15 to 20 minutes of debate. We got to get the process moving. Not everybody gets a chance to talk. Okay? But in the Senate, it's completely different. The Senate, there are no time limits. Debate is potentially unlimited. Why on earth would they do that in the Senate? Why did they allow potential for unlimited debate? It is, but why would they allow that? Like, what's the benefit of allowing debate to go on and on? You can think it through better and talk about the potential pros and cons. Okay? Now, in the Senate, anybody who, like any senator who wants to have the floor once they get recognized, you can talk as long as you want about a bill. All right? And here's the thing, sometimes to prevent a bill from ever coming to a vote, a senator will do what's called filibuster, where they will keep talking just to delay action on a bill. It's really fantastic. All right. This is Strom Thurmond, a former senator from South Carolina, filibustering. And he did not, this is great. In this picture right here, I mentioned Strom Thurmond because he holds the record for the longest filibuster, talking nonstop, simply so they couldn't have a vote on a bill. And you know what he was filibustering? Civil rights bill. Yeah. You know how long he talked nonstop? 24 hours. Literally 24 hours. Once you're recognized on the Senate floor, as long as you can stand and continue talking, you can talk indefinitely. Right? So, there's a lot of things that come up there. Your physical stamina being one. You got to go to the bathroom. You got to eat. All right? But Strom Thurmond there for 24 hours. Like, this is ridiculous. Okay? And he was successful. Eventually, what you do when you filibuster, the idea is that you're like, hey, I know that if this bill comes to a vote, it won't be the result that I want. So I'll keep talking, and eventually they'll say, look, if you just shut up and let us get on with regular business, we won't vote on this bill. We'll put it to the side. We'll table the issue and deal with it later. All right? You're basically becoming a little bit of a terrorist, a Senate terrorist. All right? And incidentally, the word filibuster comes from the Dutch word meaning piracy. I know. You basically hijack the Senate floor, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do this." And here's the best part: when you're filibustering in the Senate, you don't have to stay on topic. You can talk about whatever you want. In this case, he's reading random information that people handed him. At one point, he got the phone book out, started reading names, addresses, phone numbers. Uh, people get up there and read the Bible, read the Constitution, anything just to pass the time. And filibusters are largely effective. Okay? Now, some people might wait it out and say, heck, let him talk. And once he's done, he can't go on for forever, and then we'll vote on the bill anyway. But here's the problem. When you filibuster, a lot of times you wait till a bill is really time sensitive. Like, for example, at the end of the year when they're trying to pass a budget bill, if you're real angry about the budget bill, you know that if the budget doesn't get renewed or passed, then what happens is there's a government shutdown, okay? Meaning federal services stop. And so you're like, hey, I'll shut down the government. I'll keep filibustering, and we won't have a budget. All right? That's kind of entertaining. All right? And the filibuster is something of debate here. Now, here's what's really frustrating for the filibuster is one senator can eventually hold up a bill, and you don't, like, for example, if I'm a Democrat and let's say we were in the minority, other Democrats aren't going to speak out against me because they're my fellow party members. All right? And you can break a filibuster, but it's not easy to do. Okay? To break a filibuster, you have to invoke what's called cloture. Okay? You have to invoke what's called cloture. And cloture is when you get 60 senators, 3/5, 60 senators to agree to end debate. That's how you break a filibuster. But the problem is that the Senate balance is always like 50 something to 40 something. And so like it's rare that you have enough senators agree to break a filibuster. If you invoke cloture, that means there's only 24 hours of debate left on the bill. Oh man. The Senate. It's such a fun place where you can just randomly talk about whatever you want. Ted Cruz, current senator from Texas, he filibustered a bill a couple years ago, and he read bedtime stories to his kids, and he went on for like 12, 13 hours. Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, he filibustered for a good 10 to 12 hours. Uh, and these guys stood up there and they basically held up action. I mean, it's like, over here, Brett one day just gets tired. She's like, Mr. Scalise, I'm filibustering you. I'm going to delay our test by talking. I'm like, God help us, right? There's no filibuster in here, by the way. Now, filibusters are a great tactic. How come they've never just changed the Senate rules to get rid of it? When you're the minority party, it's a pretty valuable weapon to have. If the other party's trying to pass something, then you can just be like, hey, you know what? One senator can get up and say, I'm going to hold this up. All right. This year, though, Democrats have said that they're going to consider changing the rules, Senate rules, so that the filibuster is no longer around, which would be a big deal. That way, like you could get a 51-49 majority and pass any law you wanted to. Okay. The filibuster, a valuable weapon. Now, one other thing I want to mention a term because sometimes it comes up on the AP exam. Sometimes senators don't even have to filibuster. They can issue what's called a hold, which means you intend to hold the floor. All right. So you're basically signaling to everybody else, I'm going to filibuster. All right. And they call that issuing a hold. It's like, telling people, hey, when I get recognized on the floor, you better be ready because I'm going to talk for a long time. All right. And sometimes that's enough. They're like, God, get McNeely off the floor. Don't let her take the floor. She's going to filibuster. And we're like, all right, McNeely, whatever it is you want, let's just move on with life so you don't hold up the important business of the Senate. And McNeely's like, I knew that if I just whined enough, I would get my way. All I have to do now is threaten. That's power right there. Okay. And it's called issuing a hold. All right. House and the Senate are also responsible for the impeachment process. Not only have we talked about this earlier in the year, you've seen it twice in the last year. All right. Impeachment. The House votes to impeach an officer, including the president, but the Senate has to vote to convict and remove. Okay. Remember, the House only needs a majority to impeach. All right. But you have to have 2/3 of the Senate to convict and remove. And that's a difficult standard to reach. Andrew Johnson back in the 1860s got impeached. Senate didn't convict. They missed it by one vote. All right. Richard Nixon resigned, or he would have surely been impeached and convicted. Bill Clinton got impeached. No conviction there. And Donald Trump impeached twice. There's still one in the balance there. He still might get convicted. And by the way, the reason that they went ahead and impeached Donald Trump a second time and that you might see a conviction is a conviction would preempt him from holding public office ever again. Oof. Oof. All right. Let's move along here, childers. Okay. Fun fact, you don't have to impeach members of Congress, though. You impeach the president and executive officials, and you can impeach Supreme Court justices. But you don't have to you don't have to impeach members of the House or Senate. There's an easy way to get rid of them. The Constitution says if you don't like one of these crazy politicians, you can vote to expel them in your own House or in the Senate. Okay? All you need is a 2/3 vote of the House or the Senate, and they can kick out their own members. Let's say, for example, Ted Cruz has not been super popular lately, even in Texas. If 2/3 of the senators voted to expel Ted Cruz, he'd be kicked out of the Senate. It hasn't happened in, I think there's only once in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years where a member of the House or the Senate got expelled. Back in 2005, there was a guy named, he was from Ohio, his name was James Traficant. I'm not making that name up either. And he got involved in a lot of embezzling, money schemes, fraud, and things like that. And he was a wild looking character. And so it was kind of a little cringy at the time, right? But yeah, he got expelled. Okay, something, and I mentioned this before, but again, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. Any bill that's going to become a law has to pass through both houses of Congress to become a law. Has to pass through the House and has to pass through the Senate. Okay, the House and the Senate also have some special powers, things that only they can do. Okay, and one of the things that the House of Representatives can do by itself is that all revenue bills, all right, revenue bills have to start in the House of Representatives. Now, they'll eventually go to the Senate for a vote there as well, but they always have to originate in the House. And revenue bills are talking about bills that tax people. Any law that changes taxes has to originate in the House. Right? It'll go to the Senate eventually, but it has to start in the House. Why on earth would they write it in there that tax bills or revenue bills have to start in the House? Absolutely. This is a reflection of John Locke. You go back to the beginning of the year where John Locke said one thing that a lawmaking body should never do, never tax without the consent of the people or their representatives. And the House represents the people. All right. So they're the only ones who can initiate revenue bills, tax bills. Okay. One other special power the House has is that when the Electoral College, for the presidential election, the Electoral College is deadlocked when no candidate has a majority, the House gets to choose the president. It's happened a couple times. 1800, Thomas Jefferson. It gets a reference in Hamilton, if you've seen Hamilton. 1824, John Quincy Adams wins. All right, and those two presidential elections were decided by the House. Haven't had it happen since then, and praise the Lord. It was a little contentious this time around. I was like, this would be the one election where you definitely don't want the House picking the president because everybody would be like, this is ridiculous. All right, but the Senate has things that only they can do as well. Okay, and one of the things that the Senate's responsible for doing is confirming presidential choices. Presidents get to do and choose a lot of things, including federal judges, Supreme Court justices, cabinet officers, ambassadors. When you're the president, you get to make a lot of important choices. But the Senate has to confirm or approve them. We saw Donald Trump got to appoint 3 justices to the Supreme Court in one presidential term. And they were all a little contentious, but the Senate confirmed all 3 of them. Particularly Brett Kavanaugh brought a lot of scrutiny because of allegations of sexual assault in his past, right? But the Senate, which was majority Republican at the time, approved all 3. Okay, that's a check against the president. President picks somebody ridiculous, the Senate could be like, no, pass. Okay, judges, cabinet officers, ambassadors. It's really a great gig. Okay, one other thing the Senate does, they approve treaties. They ratify treaties. Come on, treaties. I tried. All right, treaty. I'm not, again, a treaty, a lot of people know what it is, but they don't know how to really explain it. A treaty is simply an agreement we have with another country, a binding agreement with another country. It's a binding agreement we have with another country. And a Senate treaty, it takes 2/3 of the Senate to agree to a treaty. The president gets to negotiate the treaties, but it's the Senate that has the ability to say, here's what we're going to do. They get to give their okay on it. They have to consent or confirm. All right? So both the House and the Senate get unique powers, things that only they can do. It's a good place for us to stop there, people.